Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of What's Brewing with Mobile Cup of Joe. Hey, I'm the Bearded Barista, your host for tonight, and what looks to be a fantastic Apple-focused evening. But we've got some other news and all that kind of stuff going on too. But really excited, just on a personal note, to spend some time with Chuck. I've missed him, but we'll talk about Brew Crew here in a bit. But we did want to start our show tonight with a moment of silence for the tragic events of 9/11, 14 years ago today. So we will open our show with a moment of silence, and we please ask that you'll join us as well. And our thoughts and prayers, well wishes, and everything go out to the friends and family of anybody that was lost that tragic day here in the States, as well as any other terrorist activity around the globe. It's not just exclusive to the United States. We do know that. So yeah, somber way to start the show, but definitely a fitting way. We didn't want to do anything else. But yes, I am the Bearded Barista, Alvie. I'm your host for tonight. But let's go ahead and talk to the Brew Crew. And Nexus Ben, that's just going to be your name because nobody else chimed in on anything better, so it just kind of worked for you. And you're Brew Crew now. I mean, that's just how it is. You are family, and you're part of this panel as it is. So let's go ahead and start left to right, as I always do. And we'll start with Nexus Ben. How are you? Catch us up a little bit on your week, and what's brewing for you, bud?
I'm doing good. Just insane week full of Apple and IFA and just about everything else possible. So.
Bunch of fun stuff. But yeah, it's good to have you on the show.
Busy week.
Yeah, it's good to have you up on the show. Just for kicks and giggles, because I always like it, remind everybody where we can find you normally and typically in the channels and all that kind of stuff.
Well, if you want to find me personally, go to Google Plus and search my name. That's the best place to find me. I'm also at NexusBen on Twitter. You can find everything I write and do videos on iTechTriad, on the website iTechTriad.com. The YouTube channel iTechTriad, and all over socials at the same iTechTriad. So.
Excellent. Yeah, and thanks again for joining us tonight, and pretty much every night. You're here almost every week that I'm on here, so no questions if we're the same person. We were worried if Chuck and I had turned into the same person because you never saw us in the same place at the same time. But welcome, my friend, bringing the ones and zeros, Chuck Haines. How are you, my friend? Catch me up a little bit on your life, and everybody else up on your past week. What's brewing for you?
Doing good. Not a whole lot for me. I have recently become, I guess, somewhat more of an Apple convert, although I've always had a MacBook, always had an iPad. I now have an iPhone. I am actually thoroughly enjoying it. I have switched to T-Mobile as well, so I am part of the uncarrier, as it were. Absolutely loving it. Not a whole lot else, just kind of... I'm actually excited about some of the stuff Apple announced, so we'll definitely get into that later, and I'll have a few words as far as what excited me about it.
Excellent. And yeah, it is, just on a friendly note, good to see you again, bud. I haven't been on the show with you in a while. We keep up, and yeah, it's not like I haven't seen or talked to Chuck in 6 months or nothing, but like on the show, we keep up in chats and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's good to see you on the show back again, just a little personal note. But also bringing back from the dead Fred. I really wish we could find you a better nickname, but man, it's just all
it's getting a little old, but that's what nicknames are for, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, it's been pretty quiet. Kind of quiet up here. Finally got some relief from a brutal heat wave and drought we've been having up here in New Jersey, and got some relatively cooler weather, which is convenient because my air conditioning broke yesterday morning. So hoping we can muddle through that. And other than that, not too much to report. Looking forward to getting into tonight's discussions.
Yeah, me too. Bunch of different stuff, good stuff going on. But yeah, I mean, pretty much no news is good news on personal side. So glad
sometimes it's like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. And all right, Spec Sheet Tony, how are you, my friend? What is going on? What's brewing for you?
Oh, I'm really good, man. I actually have some awesome news. I'm no longer with Swappa, and I have started to go full bore into aerial photography. So I actually, tomorrow, will be receiving my DJI Inspire 1, and I am super excited about that because and the ordering process was a nightmare, so I'll give you an overview on that. but we ordered it from DJI. Sorry about that. We ordered it from DJI directly, which is really the best place to get it because it comes with a spare battery and a couple other things, and then you're getting it directly from the proper people. So if you're spending $3,000 on a drone, you want to know that you're getting it and not buying it from some Amazon dealer who may or may not fulfill the order after they have your money. So we ordered it from DJI directly, and there was an issue with the payment, and they emailed, but they didn't email to ask about the payment until like 2 a.m. the next day because they're in China and had some issues with that. Responded, provided them all the information they asked, then did not hear from them for 2 days. So basically emailed them back, said, do not charge the account. We're buying it through someone else. We're not dealing with this. So we bought it through Amazon Prime. Interesting thing about that, if you order something on Amazon Prime and pay for overnight shipping, if it has a lithium battery in it, they will not ship it overnight because they can't put it on a plane legally. So it will tell you, if you want it by tomorrow, order it within the next 45 minutes or whatever. You click it, you order it, it lets you pay for overnight shipping. When it gets into your My Orders, it will say however long their ground shipping estimate is. So I called them and had them refund the overnight shipping because that's ridiculous. And I'm pretty upset about that, especially since they did let me ship the extra battery overnight, and it will be here tomorrow. So I don't know what the deal is with that or why that's so. Anyway, the exciting thing about this is, well, I guess I'll wait a second, but that's going to be our first news story, so I'll hold off on that. But I'm very excited to be getting the Inspire tomorrow, and I'm sorry, not tomorrow. I'll get it on Monday, so I'll get the battery tomorrow. I'll get the Inspire on Monday. But very exciting stuff. Going to have some awesome things. If you aren't, I'm going to go and plug my page. Follow me on any social network, McAfee Imaging. I'm on Facebook, Google+, obviously. Instagram and Twitter at McAfee Imaging, everywhere. So check it out. I've got some decent looking stuff up right now, but it's all taken with my current drone and the kind of crappy camera I have with it. So look forward, follow it, follow my pages, sit back and watch because I'm going to have some really high quality stuff coming.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see what you got coming out. And yeah, it is McAfee Imaging, not McAfee Imagining. So we've
already been removed.
We've had some confusion on that, so we just want to make sure. But I'm really excited to see what you come out with because you've always put out some really good stuff on your lower end stuff, and now that you got the correct equipment, I'm excited about it.
Oh yeah.
So that's fantastic. But yeah, as far as me, I'm the Bearded Barista. I'm your host for tonight. I'm gonna try to keep this thing moving because we've got a lot of stuff to go over. We've got the Apple event to talk about and a whole bunch of Apple news in that. We do have some drone news Tony's going to start us off with here in just a minute, and maybe some T-Mobile announcements and things like that. So hopefully a fast-moving show, but if you want to interact with us, the best way to do this is on any of the socials that accept hashtags. Hashtag MCOJBrew. MCOJBrew. And if you got a question, comment, concern, or rebuttal about anything we're talking about tonight, especially since Tony's talking about something that we don't usually talk about here on the show with drones and all that, especially high-end and things. So if you got anything you want to know or question or whatever, hashtag MCOJBrew. And we watch that throughout the week, too. So if you're watching this live, go ahead and hit it now. If you're watching it later and during the week, you're hitting it on the podcast. Hashtag MCOJBrew on all the socials, and we'll try to answer your question just as soon as we can, or live if we catch it on the show. But let's go ahead and start talking about things and catch up with the Apple event, or my notes are backwards. Tony with his drone news. Tony McAfee spec sheet. Talk to me about this drone stuff.
All right. Well, I guess I'll start by saying if you heard me mention the DJI Inspire, if you're a casual user or you've just gotten into quadcopters or if you've only just heard people talking about them, the DJI you've probably heard of is the Phantom, and those are the normal consumer around $1,000, between $1,000 and $1,500 devices. Well, now it's between $700 and $1,500 devices that are just the small 350 size quadcopters, but still get really good professional quality video. The DJI Inspire is the most powerful all-in-one drone that you can aerial filming, aerial photography system that you can purchase. Camera attached and ready to fly out of the box with everything you need. what they've done at Interdrone last night was they made an announcement. Actually, I don't know if Interdrone was last night. It was Interdrone in Las Vegas. It's a conference for drones and aerial photography. And Eric from DJI made an announcement of the new cameras that they have, which will attach to, if you already own a DJI Inspire, it will attach to the one you already own, or you can buy the cameras with the DJI Inspire. And what they are is the ZenMoose X5 and the ZenMoose X5R, and the R stands for RAW. So the ZenMoose X5. Now, I am not a camera buff at all, and I have no idea what most of this means. But just to give you an idea, DJI's, let's see, along with sharing the same. So I'm just going to read this right off CNET. So credit to CNET, because I would have no idea how to paraphrase these specs. Along with sharing the same sensors, the two models support 3 lenses in addition to DJI's MFT 15mm f1.7 ASPH lens made for the X5. The Panasonic Lumix 15mm G Lacia DG Sumilix, sorry, I am butchering this, f1.7 ASPH lens, and the Olympus M Zuko digital. Anyway, so high-end lenses. Go to CNET. Give them clicks. I'm not just going to steal it all. But they shoot anyway. They shoot in 4K, and the X5 shoots in 4K and has this lens that is basically as high quality as like a RED camera, the RED film, like cinematic quality camera. The X5R has a 512 gigabyte solid state drive included, and it not only does it shoot in that 4K, but it also records in Cinema DNG RAW format. To the removable 512 gig solid state drive, and that is so that if you are making an actual movie, you can take this camera and you can have and you can record that in that Cinema DNG extremely high quality video that is suitable for full feature films, basically. And it records in 24 or 30 frames per second, and then of course it'll also record in 1080p 60. I don't know if it goes higher, maybe 120 for 1080, but let's see, full HD at 60 frames per second, it says. And then the replaceable sensors, it says it will support more lenses in the future as they are able to, balance them out, because they are going to be on a gimbal and you need it to be balanced correctly. What's most exciting about this now, the prices are going to be high, but what's most exciting about this is, especially as someone who has an Inspire on the way, if and when I get more serious about cinematography and photography, I know there are legit cameras that aren't just basically high-end GoPro quality, which is what's included with the Inspire 1, that I can switch to if I need to do something really high professional quality. And that's really exciting. And just to put a bookend on it, the X5 will be $4,500 with the Inspire included, and $2,200 standalone if you already own an Inspire and you just want to buy the camera unit to put on. And the X5R will be available in Q4. Now, they're already taking orders and shipping at the end of September for the X5. The X5R will be available in Q4, and it will be $8,000 with the drone included, and they haven't announced a standalone pricing yet. But if it's, just judging from the pricing of the X5 with the drone and without the drone, it would stand to reason that it's going to be about $4,500 for just the camera. But you're getting, for anyone who maybe goes out and shoots for commercials, now you've got a all-in-one solution that cost $8,000 instead of having to build an $8,000 to $10,000 machine, a $3,000 gimbal, and carrying an $8,000 camera. So you're replacing a $20,000 solution that you had to build yourself with an $8,000 solution that you ordered and just have a carrying case. So a fantastic announcement on the drone news front. I am very, very excited to see what comes from that and the kind of aerial videos and photos that we're going to be seeing now that we have actual consumer available high-end solutions for this.
Yeah, definitely not for your casual flyer, but honestly, that is affordable for what it is. Just like what you're talking about, between $4,000 and $8,000 for full professional rigs, not too bad. Yeah. I know, Fred, you're a new flyer and all that kind of stuff. You got any dreams and hopes and wishes of carrying something like this?
It's way off in the future. I'm still struggling with my existing drone, which has been grounded and seems to be a defective unit, but we're trying to figure that out as we speak. So I've got to bow out of this one. Reserve judgment until later.
Yeah, I would love one, but I think I'm just gonna live vicariously through Tony on all this kind of stuff. We had a good competition going for a bit where we would go back and forth with top quality, but yeah, I think you win, my friend. So
for a while. I can't even put into words how excited I am.
This new stuff.
What's that?
Especially if you're thinking about this new stuff, yeah, I'm not spending $4,000 to $8,000 on a camera.
Oh no, yeah, not until I have a professional production company contact me and say, hey, we heard about your company and we need some aerial footage, and then I'll see with how much they're willing to pay me if I want to spend on one of these professional quality cameras, because right now, like I said, I had to read those specs, so I'm not even up enough on what makes a good camera to know what this does. And
I'm just impressed that they stumped the spec sheet, man.
Yeah.
Kudos to DJI for that.
Good point.
Camera specs are not in my forte.
Yeah, all that's well above and beyond me, but most things are. You guys know me; I'm just some dude, so I'm ready.
Could that be a new feature on the show? Stump the spec sheet. Come up with something so technologically advanced that Tony can't keep up with it.
There we go.
I love it. All right, so let's talk about some stuff that we can all rant about. I think we all can chime in on an Apple event. Chuck, I watched your Google Plus post. I think we could go ahead and just put our notes on a Google Plus post, and we would have plenty to read and talk about and discuss. But Chuck, catch us up a little bit because you're our Apple fanboy here tonight. Catch us up a little bit on the Apple event and everything that was going on, what was announced, what's released, and all that. Catch us up.
Wow, I never thought I'd hear someone say you're the Apple fanboy.
It hurts my heart a little bit, but I'm starting to learn to accept it.
No, I still do love Android. Actually, I've been teetering back and forth, trying not to click the buy button on a Moto X Pure. There's only two things prevent me from doing it. One is no Band 12 support for T-Mobile, although supposedly it's coming, and no Wi-Fi calling. So as soon as it gets those, it'll probably be a no-brainer. And I'll definitely be toggling between the two of them. So anyway, Apple event. Definitely a ton of news this week that came from the Apple event. I think it was a lot bigger than anyone expected. Kind of first and foremost, they talked about a new Apple TV. Apple TV's kind of been, for lack of a better terminology, the redheaded stepchild of the Apple devices. It's never really gotten a whole lot of love from Apple. It's just kind of been this really kind of cool device that you can use, but it was very limited. There wasn't an ecosystem and very few apps for it. Well, Apple's trying to change that. So they have a new Apple TV out. It's kind of like their take on what Google TV is doing. It's got a rich app ecosystem. It's got its own operating system that's presumably based on iOS, although it's its own kind of SDKs and stuff. Comes out in October. It's going to be $150 for the 32 gig version. But I think the biggest thing that they really kind of harped on during the show was this remote, and it's really kind of unique because it's, it looks like a normal remote, but it's got a lot of touch to it. Like the entire top half of it, you can almost think of it like a trackpad, like a traditional, like you'd find on a MacBook. It had like a lot of gestures and stuff, and very, very deep Siri integration. So what they showed was things like, find me movies that had such and such actor, and it would of course display them. And the cool thing is it searches across like Hulu, Netflix, iTunes, HBO, and I think they showed a couple other ones. Absent from it was actually Amazon, which was kind of interesting because Amazon and Apple, Amazon's always had their apps out for iOS well before they've had anything for Android. But then it kind of showed off some of its contextual stuff. So, like, for example, once you said, show me movies for such and such actor, then you could said, well, show me movies, now filter that by movies that won such and such award. And we kind of start paring it down. So it kind of shows not only the real search capabilities of Apple TV, but kind of the contextual information. And they showed things such as, one of the other big things they showed was MLB TV. So you could be watching a game, but you could set up other game alerts. So that, for example, if let's say I'm watching the Braves game and something happens in the Nationals game, it actually would pop it up in the top corner. You could see the information and quickly switch to that game and see what happened and then switch back. So they're really kind of playing up this whole. Their big thing was the future of TV is apps. So they're really playing up this entire app ecosystem, this very rich, integrated environment for TVs and things. It's kind of interesting to see where it goes. Google kind of had the same idea for the Nexus player and Google TV, and it still really hasn't caught on yet. So I'm curious to see, what you guys think. Do you think the Apple TV is finally going to catch on, or do you think it's just going to kind of be another thing like the Android TV, which is a really great idea, but just really hasn't caught on yet?
Well, I don't have. What do you think, Ben? I hadn't heard from you in a minute. Ben, I know you got something to chime in on.
I'm impressed by the Apple TV for sure. I'm glad they finally added an app store, because every time I went to someone's house and they had an Apple TV, that was my biggest gripe, is that you either had all of the apps, it was just like you had all of the apps and you didn't use half of them. That's what I like about things like Android TV, is that you can choose what you want to download. But I'm impressed by it. I'm not going to buy one because I don't have any other Apple things. And also I use Google Play Movies like all the time, so I'm gonna stick with my Nexus player and Android TV and my Chromecast. So it's good, but it is overpriced. $149 was way too much for the base model.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. And I've got the Roku, and honestly, I've been super happy with it. I mean, even as an Apple person, I don't think I would get the Apple TV because it doesn't offer me anything that a Roku or a Chromecast doesn't give me. So until they can kind of give me something that I can't get, with the Roku or something cheaper, then I don't know that there's a reason to buy it either.
I think anyone who's invested in iTunes for movies and TV, it's a no-brainer. But if you use any other service, if you don't use iTunes, you're better off with the Roku or Chromecast or Android TV or literally any other option.
Yeah.
Literally anything else. What do you think, Fred?
Well, I'll give a small caveat and say that I'm not a huge consumer of TV at the moment, but I like the idea of what we heard about streaming feeds, the other ball games, the ability to click on a link and flow through to the next game. But it's really kind of a paradigm shift for TV watching, where most people want to sit down traditionally anyway, and I'm real old school as far as TV goes, but most people want to sit down and watch the TV show, and the way that I can't speak for everyone, but I think the way people watch TV is not the same as the way that we web surf. Now, that may be converging and turning into something else as we move forward, but it seems like almost sort of an attention deficit kind of thing, that you're going to sit down to watch a movie or a ball game and then constantly be jumping like you're web surfing. But people have channel surfed for a long time as well. I guess we'll just have to see. It's Apple, so it may catch on just because it's Apple.
That might be true.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's really what my comment was going to be. Like, whether you love them, hate them, or whatever you think about them, Apple pretty much spearheads technology for better or worse. So if anybody's going to make something like that happen, it's probably going to be an Apple doing something like that, even at a price point that's ridiculously high. But Fred, you make a good point, and this is a topic or a discussion for another night, because we can probably talk a while about that. But just different types of viewing. Like if you're going to watch TV, you do watch that differently. Because I've got regular TV and I've got a Roku, and I watch the two differently. It's not the same experience on both. So integrating the two is probably going to be something that we'll have to see over time. But I don't want to spend too much time on Apple TV, because go check it out. There's a bunch of stuff to talk about. And Chuck, I'm coming back to you, so I hope you're ready. Let's talk a little bit about their Watch OS 2.
Yeah, so Apple announced basically the next generation of the OS for their Apple Watch. They didn't announce any new Apple Watches per se that are like next generation. They did announce a couple new colors and things, but nothing as far as different internals. They also announced a couple new bands. One band, they're working with a company called Hermes, I believe they are, and it's this kind of double-looped band. Apple, like most things, they know how to market. Well,
Hermes.
Hermes. My
He's a
apologies.
designer.
That tells you how much I know, right? That tells me how much I'm on the fashion world.
I mean, I don't know for sure. I'm just guessing by what you said that it's Hermes.
Okay.
He's a designer. Anyway, go on.
Well, we got Tony over there walking down the fashion aisle, so But I don't know. So Apple's doing like Apple normally does. They're trying to push their products into the fashion world so that people who have more money might be interested in it. So to be honest with you, it wasn't anything terribly interesting. Not a whole lot to talk about. A couple new features. I guess the most notable one was when you're looking at the front, where it kind of shows like your upcoming appointments and weather and stuff. You can actually turn the little crown, and they call it time jump, or I don't know, they called it something stupid, but basically it lets you essentially go into the future, so you can see like, okay, what's happening at 6 o'clock, and it'll show you your calendar events, stuff like that, which is kind of cool. But overall, I was actually hoping for a next generation watch because I think battery life is still lacking on the Apple Watch, but it was just the kind of the next iteration of their OS for the watch.
I can't get excited about it. I just can't. I'm sorry. You guys know I'm like super fanboy for my Zen watch, and I just can't get excited about the Apple Watch. Even though everybody that ever sees my watch, unless they have one, always asks if I've got the Apple Watch. So I can't get excited about it.
Yeah. All I have to say is, why is there a gold one? Why is there a rose gold one? Why does it still not do anything I care about? Why is it still $400? It's just like, why?
Yeah, because people will pay $400 for it. That's why it's $400. Well, not you and I, but the average person on the street will.
Yeah, I went into a Verizon store to help my dad get a Droid Turbo a couple weeks ago, and I was talking to the person there, and she was saying, because she saw my watch, and she was saying, I was going to get an Apple Watch for my husband for his anniversary, for our anniversary, and I said to her, okay, so you don't mind paying all that money for it? And she said, no, not really. But I said, okay, well, let me put it this way. The Pebble time is just as good, and it's easier to understand, and it's cheaper. And she was like, I'm going to get that.
And it looks like it's made by Play School.
Yeah. That is true.
Like the Apple Watch.
But so does the Apple Watch. Yeah, but I don't know. It's just like smartwatches.
We made it halfway through the show before we gave like a really good dig to Apple products.
Well, so
it's a record for
the watch. The watch deserves it. I mean, Apple's first generation watch is just.
So does the pen.
They need to hurry up and get the second gen out already.
We can go ahead and switch straight to the pen if we're gonna do digs.
Actually, I want to say one more thing about the watch. I don't think the watch itself is bad. It's the software. They keep focusing on apps and stuff first instead of watch.
Yeah.
It should be watch first, smartwatch second. Just like, this thing called Android Wear, which is watch first.
Well,
software
okay.
second.
So let's segue. It's not on the list, but let's talk about, since you're talking about watch first. Who has seen the Samsung? What is it? The S2 or G2? Is that what they're called?
The Gear S2. Oh my God, I want it so bad.
Yes. Okay. So let's take 5 minutes to talk about that, and it's something I know everyone can chime in on. Oh my gosh, that is watch first, absolutely amazing. Samsung finally did something right.
It's design first. Well, I don't know about watch first. I haven't looked at the software yet, but it's design first. I love the design, but I don't know yet. There's no apps.
Yeah, but do you really need that many apps? I mean,
no.
Technically, the Android Wear doesn't have apps. I mean,
I need Hangouts. I need Google Maps, which the Gear S2 doesn't have. So,
okay.
I use the basics, but the Gear S2 looks nice, but I'm still gonna stick with Android Wear. Plus, it's expensive too.
Well, yeah. Samsung typically, has their price point the same as Apple.
And 5 minutes later, we hit the Samsung dig.
Yeah. So and I'll go ahead and give a shout out to Joshua Bain there. I'm saying Apple as many times as I can just for his. And no, we're not ignoring you. I do see all your questions in the QA. But okay, yeah, we are ignoring you, but we do see your questions in the QA.
You spread my check on, huh?
So does the new Samsung Watch run TouchWiz?
No, it runs
Tizen.
Tizen, yeah.
but it's compatible with any Android phone instead of just Samsung. So that's a good thing.
Huge.
That's good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which
But
might
it's
make
still
for
expensive.
a confusing user experience if they're not sure the difference between Samsung Android watches and Android Wear Android watches and all that. I don't know.
Yep.
Possible. All right, let's talk about something else that's really fun. The iPhone 6s and 6s Plus. Guess who I'm going to for this? Chuck, tell me a little bit about it.
You're going to me again? So, like Apple does every year, they obviously announce new phones. And Apple kind of does a 2-year release cycle. So, generally, their next version of the phones is released, and then the year after that, they do their S versions, which is typically just a minor upgrade. Although, some can argue that this was a little bit more than just a minor upgrade. Generally, with their S releases, you get a little spec bump. You might get some storage options, some minor bumps. But I actually do think this S release is actually worth it. So some of the highlights: the iPhone 6s and 6s Plus. It's got their new A9 chipset, not the A9X, which is their brand new one that's in the iPad Pro. But according to them, it is a desktop class CPU. That remains to be seen. I mean, once we actually get it, we'll be able to see how good is it. But supposedly it's super fast. The GPU is awesome. One of the things they have done, which they haven't done in quite some time on the iPhone line, is the camera finally got a bump. Instead of their traditional 8 megapixel, it is now a 12 megapixel. And in addition to that, it's also got 4K video recording now. So those of you guys who are kind of interested in looking at the 4K, although there's TVs are just still coming out on the market, so 4K is still very much in its infancy. But the iPhone will now actually support that. In addition, they've upgraded the front camera. It's now a 5 megapixel, and it has something they're calling their Retina Flash. Apple actually did kind of something interesting here. Instead of putting a traditional flash on the front of the phone, the screen itself will actually get super bright and flash, and so it is actually using the screen as the flash for the front camera.
Samsung and LG do that too.
Oh, do they? Okay.
That's who it was. Okay.
All right, so someone else did do it. I wasn't aware of it. I hadn't heard of it before. I figured someone else probably did it already. Apple comes up with nice things, but generally it's not innovative.
When I got that LG tablet for Father's Day from T-Mobile, I was confused because their website said that the front camera, it had a front camera with flash, and I was like, no frickin' way. Why would it have a flash on the front camera and not on the back camera? And it turns out it does just flash you in the face with the LCD. I was like, that's the stupidest, because that would only work in the dark, and it really doesn't really work all that well in the dark. Anyway, I digress. Go on, Apple.
Yeah, well, so I mean, great, you'll have a flash for your selfie. I don't really care, to be honest with you. I mean, if the word selfie and selfie cameras were to die, I would be perfectly happy. So what else does it have? It has 23 LTE bands, which Apple is saying is the first for a phone. I haven't checked up on that, so I'm not going to say that's true. There might be other phones out there with that many LTE bands. I don't know. There might be. But Apple is claiming it's the first phone. Of note to T-Mobile customers is it does include that magical band 12, which is kind of that low-frequency, farther traveling LTE for T-Mobile. We'll talk about T-Mobile and the iPhone here a little bit later. It also includes LTE Advanced. I don't actually think LTE Advanced is deployed anywhere in the U.S. yet, although both T-Mobile and Verizon have said that I think beginning next year they want to look at deploying it. So, it's anticipation of that. And then, of course, they've got the Wi-Fi 802.11 AC, with the fast, super fast Wi-Fi, pretty much standard on phones these days. So when do and the last thing I think, which is the most interesting thing for me, is what they're calling 3D Touch. Most people probably know it as Force Touch, and what it is the screen, depending upon how hard you actually press the screen, allows for different interactions. Now, some of you guys who have been on Google Plus, you've kind of seen some of the Android people saying, well, Android's had it for a while, and the reason Android doesn't use it is because it's a confusing UI. And I'm gonna have to go with, some things that's probably gonna make every one of you mad, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Is that Android is usually first, but Apple usually perfects it. So I'll be interested to see, how they actually have the UI and how confusing or interesting it is to use. Generally speaking, Apple's not the first to get things, but usually Apple actually does things very polished, and it takes, other manufacturers sometimes, they might come out with it first. Samsung is guilty of this a lot. They come out with it first, but it takes them, 2 or 3 iterations to actually perfect it. So I don't know, the jury's still out. They showed some really cool things, like, in Mail, touching it to open it up and then touching it a little bit farther to actually open the email up itself. It remains to be seen whether it's actually going to be good or not. Pre-orders do actually start tomorrow morning at 12:01 a.m. Pacific time. The 6S will start at $199. The 6S Plus will start at $299. 2-year contracts or jumps or normal pricing for iPhones. The very interesting thing, though, that Apple did announce here, and then I'll shut up for a minute and let you guys speak, is that Apple is kind of taking the carrier approach to iPhones, and they've basically announced the Apple upgrade plan. So what this is you actually can now pay a monthly fee to Apple, get the iPhone, and they're going all the way back to the iPhone 6. So you'll be able to get the iPhone 6, the 6 Plus, 6S, 6S Plus for a monthly fee, and then every year you can turn that phone back in and get the new iPhone. So it's going to be very interesting, and this is completely unlocked. From what I understand, you choose your carrier when you sign up for the plan, and then you get the phone for that carrier, although the iPhone is the same across all carriers, so it doesn't really matter. But it's definitely interesting. I'll be curious to see how many people take advantage of that, as opposed to something like the T-Mobile jump-on-demand plan or the AT&T Next or whatever everyone's calling their plans these days. So that was kind of the big news for the iPhone and the iPhone 6S and 6S Plus.
Just a few small additions this year.
Just a couple things, no big deal.
Which, yeah, it is bigger than, I mean, seriously, in years past it is kind of like barely an upgrade, where this seems like almost they could have gone with a new phone. So, Ben, I know you're kind of Apple deep too over there. What's your thoughts on the new iPhone stuff?
Okay, camera. I'm glad they upgraded it finally. The front-facing flash is like, I knew someone had done that before. I couldn't remember who. Some people will like it. I don't know. But yeah, I'm glad they upgraded the camera. Not everyone realizes this, but I'm really excited for it if I do get one of these, is the 6S and the 6S Plus have 2 gigs of RAM, finally.
Yes.
Which is awesome. I'm very glad they did that. The colors, they added rose gold, and it's pink. It's pink. Just call it pink. Just call it pink or something.
There's a lot of different pinks. This is a very specific Apple-y kind of pink.
That is nowhere near gold.
Well, it is rose gold, though. Have you ever seen rose gold?
And the interesting thing about that, too, is they actually they're continuing to sell the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, but they discontinued all the colors except for white and what they call it, space gray, I think they call it.
Yeah. And I was so happy to hear that.
I was actually, you're going to laugh when you hear this, but I was actually at the Apple Store today, a couple hours ago, in fact, looking at iPads. And the guy who I was speaking with there told me that when the iPad Mini 4 comes out, they are taking the iPad Mini 3 off the shelves, and they will sell the iPad Mini Retina, or iPad Mini 2 as we most commonly refer to it, and the iPad Mini 4, but they will no longer sell the iPad Mini 3.
Yeah, because the 3 was pointless. But
yeah.
Basically, yeah.
But
Which is just interesting. Why wouldn't you keep the 2 that are closer in price? Maybe they want that gap in price or something. I don't know. Maybe they have a bunch of extras. Who knows? But very odd that that's the way they're going to do that.
Yeah. The only other thing is the Force Touch or 3D Touch, whatever you want to call it. Kind of going back on your comments, Chuck, about it being how Android users are saying, oh, it's been here for years. That is true. No one has used it yet, and that is because, yeah, it's still, in my opinion, it's unintuitive. It's just, phones are hard enough for some people to understand already. Let's not add something where you literally have to push harder for it to work. I mean, that's just I've never understood how that's a good thing in any way. But I would have to say just the biggest problem with it is just if teaching someone about it. I mean, I have to help people with their phones all the time. With an iPhone, it's easy, but now you add this, and it's just like no one is going to know how to do this. And I mean, honestly, 3D Touch, the only place it's useful as well is on the home screen. I thought that was a very interesting way of using it, and in games. I think it was amazing. That was really, really awesome. But the mail thing and all that stuff, in my opinion, that is completely pointless. It's going to take you just as long to hold down your finger a little bit harder and do an option as it will to do those other 2 clicks like they showed on screen. So it's just Force Touch. It has its use cases, but in my opinion, it's completely pointless.
I'll go on the other side of it. I'll be open-minded. How about that? Because all right, let me back up a million years ago to video game systems. Back when you had 8 buttons and all you could do was push them. Then I think the PlayStation 2 came out with like a Force Touch button. Like if you barely touched it, it would like lob the pass. If you hit it hard, it would pass it really hard. Or I'm sure there's better terms. I don't speak American football. I'm sorry. Football to me is with your feet. I think soccer. But anyway, beside the point. So and it worked. When I first tried it, I was like, "This is weird. This is stupid. We don't need this kind of interaction." Now everything's got it, and even your triggers do it, and all that kind of stuff. I think it all comes down to how it's implemented. If it's something stupid like push really hard for an email or lightly for a text message, okay, that's going to confuse people. But if they they come out with something that works, that makes it make sense, then sure, why not?
I'm going to side with Alvie on this. I'm interested to see how it actually gets used over time, what it evolves into. And I'll take you a step back further, tech evolution-wise. In the early days of electronic music keyboards, you got basically on and off when you hit a piano. What looked like a piano key, which you should be able to hit harder or softer to get differences in volume. That did not exist, and so the earliest electronic synthesizers and so on were, and even polyphonic keyboards were very flat sounding because all you got was on and off with no real dynamics. And over time, touch-sensitive keys evolved to the point where you can pretty well simulate stronger or weaker attack on a piano key and press down on keys even harder to trigger another programmable effect, be it a tremolo or a pitch bending or something else. So, just because we haven't thought of it yet, it doesn't mean that there aren't valuable and interesting applications for it.
I will say for that, though, that's going back to the way that a piano is supposed to work. So if we're talking about, like, drawing on an iPad or something, then yes, I totally think for that Apple Pencil, the features that I was going to bag on the price for a while because it is ridiculous, but the features that they showed with it, the ability to turn it and get the calligraphic, is that what I'm looking for? Calligraphy style lettering, to be able to do that kind of artwork is very important to have on a computer where before you had one line of pixels or varying thickness, however you set it beforehand. But Force Touch would be really good for that. But as far as just interacting with an app where there's no set precedent in our minds as to how this is supposed to be interacted with, I don't think it's going to get used as much as maybe there is potential for it, because you have to change something in your mind. Where with a piano, yeah, that's how a piano is supposed to be played when it's a piano that's got catgut strings or whatever they make originally made piano strings out of. I guess catgut's not piano.
It's been steel.
Steel. Okay. Eloquent until then.
Well, but Tony, to kind of go off of that though, but all of our most of our touch screens have 10-point touch. Who uses 10 points at a time? You use 2, maybe 3, kind of thing. So to have it, and every app shouldn't use it. Yeah, that's silly. There's a lot better way to implement it. But we always on this show, and a lot of people on Google Plus Term Leech can attest to this. We always say how Android has all these options, and yeah, you don't have to use them, but you can, and we have that. And we rag on Apple and their stuff for not having it. Here, Apple comes out with something like that, and they say, here's something that you may or may not use all the time, but it has great functionality. And now it's like, oh, that's just stupid because nobody else does it that way. So I will leave it at that because, Tony, I want to talk to you about this new iPad Pro. But I'm going to go to Chuck because he's got all the specs on the iPad Pro. Chuck, I've missed you so much. I just want to talk to you all night.
I know. This is the Alvie and Chuck show tonight.
No, tell me about this new iPad Pro, and then we'll go over to Tony because I know he's got opinions on it.
Yep, so basically the iPad Pro, they also announced this, think gigantic iPad. Literally it looks just like an iPad, only it's 12.9-inch screen. It's got a decent display. It's 6.9 millimeters thin, which is actually shockingly thin. That's quite thin. It starts at a 32 gig model for $800. It comes with Apple's new A9X chip. That they're basically touting is more powerful than most portable laptop CPUs and GPUs. Be interesting to see how that works in real life, as whether that's true or not. It's got all things you'd expect from an iPad: 10-hour battery life, the iSight camera, Touch ID. The one thing it does have, well, unfortunately, still not front-facing speakers. Apple, I still don't know why you're not doing that. But it does have 4 speakers coming out the sides, so 4 different grills that supposedly is going to make it sound really, really awesome. Still not front-facing once again, so can't really sound that awesome. But they're also talking accessories. So they're targeting this clearly at the Surface Pro 3. It's approximately the same size as far as screen real estate goes. They're including a keyboard-type cover, which is very, very similar to the Surface Pro. The keyboard they touted is the same keyboard that is in the MacBook. The new really thin MacBook that they had to design these special keys that they went on and on about. And it's also going to come with the pencil accessory, which for those of you guys who are familiar with the Surface is the same exact pen thing that Microsoft has. So obviously this is clearly targeted directly at Microsoft. But the interesting thing, and where we got kind of the name for our show tonight, is they announced, they had some people come out on stage to demo some things on the iPad Pro. And the first person to come out on stage during the Apple event was a vice president from Microsoft to demo Office on the iPad Pro. And I think everyone who was watching and everyone in the audience just about fell on the ground and went, "What is going on?" So that was the first guest at the Apple event to show off the iPad Pro was Microsoft, of all people. So yeah, that's the iPad Pro, gigantic iPad. Not coming out till October, I think. November. It's not coming out till later this year.
I think November.
November. Okay. And we'll see if they sell any of it or if anyone's really interested in it. Of course, it has the split screen stuff. You can run 2 apps side by side. That's all part of iOS 9. Probably what drove that feature is the iPad Pro, would be my guess.
All right, so Tony, talk to us.
All right. Well, my thing was just because of the price of that pen. $100 for a stylus. Now, I started making fun of it. And then a friend of mine, he's the director of IT at a local electric company, and he showed me on his iPhone 6 video of a demonstration of the new, what do they call it, the Apple Pencil. He showed me a demonstration of it, and it was an artist drawing, and he was doing some fantastic things. The one thing I will go ahead and make fun of them mercilessly for is the way that you charge the pencil. Has anyone seen this?
I think I just about died of laughter when I saw it.
You put the what would be the eraser directly on the side of, or the bottom of the iPad Pro.
Into the Lightning port. You plug it into the Lightning port,
and it sticks directly out, like an antenna. Like it looks like a giant RC remote control, flat remote control like something out of a sci-fi movie that was never made.
I want to get
You
a
say
job.
that you say that today, but 6 months from now, when you're seeing, that's going to be a common sight in coffee shops and waiting rooms and airports all over the place.
I think I would just. Oh wait, it plugs into the lightning port. Never mind.
How long till we see someone plug it in backwards and break the iPad Pro, and then we have to have this?
You know what happens? What happens?
It goes
when
all the way
TVs
in, guys. It goes all the way in backwards, and they don't even say it in the manual not to do this. Ridiculous. I stuck the whole iPad Pro into my back pocket with the pen sticking out, and the whole thing just bent right in half.
I just want to get a job at an Apple store just to see how many people come in with broken charging ports because of this.
Yeah.
It's
I
just,
dropped
it's such a terrible design. It's
and Apple, came out with that beautiful, I don't know what they call it, but that magnetic connection for laptop charge. Broken ports and broken cable ends when somebody trips over the cable.
That's one of my favorite features on the Remix tablet, is because it'll constantly just fall off the edge of my desk because I try to keep it like on a hook. It'll fall off the edge of my desk. All I do is take the Remix tablet over and touch it to the floor, and it sucks the charger right up, and then I just put it down, and it's good to go. I love that. They have magnetic charging. That should be the standard for all chargers on everything, and they should all be the same. Toasters included. I don't care.
Well, I had it on my Sony stuff, and I loved it absolutely. It was terribly done, the way it was all done, but just not having to plug anything in and worry about messing your ports up and stuff. So I'm with you. I love it on the Remix. I love it on my MacBook. So, and I love it on my Sony.
What I will say before we go away from this, what I will say is I am excited about the iPad Pro. I probably will never own one myself unless it called for professionally. But it is very cool to see that all it took, well, okay, I shouldn't say that. That sounds really bad. Let's just say all it took was Steve Jobs to die for them to start making different size devices. I mean, like, finally break out of and that's what you need.
And
that.
to make a
stylus.
Sorry. And to make a stylus.
Well, that actually makes sense, because over his dead body.
Literally.
I'm pretty sure he said that.
He did.
Yeah, so to me, it's... I like seeing the very large design. I think 13 is an awesome size, because obviously 9.7 is the exact right size for a normal everyday use. Carry it with you everywhere you go, and the 4:3 aspect ratio people are loving. So I am very excited about the new iPad. It's very cool. And then what I'm most excited to see is how quickly it can do things like render large videos and photo editing and do the processor intensive stuff. That's going to be really cool to see, because I know I do most of my photo editing on my tablet, on my Remix tablet or on my phone using Photoshop Touch. I love it because it's so much easier to edit with your fingers than it is to do it with a mouse on a computer. So I'm excited to see what people do with the iPad Pro.
Yeah.
And it's got 4 gigs of RAM. Spec sheet should be.
That's what I was about to say.
There you go. Make it upgradable, and then I'll buy one. That would push me over to Apple if they were the first one. That would push me over to Apple for at least the iPad. If they made an iPad with upgradable RAM, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, you may be dreaming on that one for a while.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about T-Mobile. And Chuck, can I push back to you on this one too?
Yeah, I guess if no one else knows what this is, I'll certainly talk about it.
What is it? I didn't even see it.
So T-Mobile announced shortly after the iPhone 6 and iPhone 6 announcement, T-Mobile CEO went ahead and did a little YouTube clip and posted it up on Twitter. Basically, T-Mobile, it's not an official uncarrier announcement, but it's kind of like in line with their uncarrier announcements. What they've announced is they're calling it the Lifetime Coverage Guarantee. Basically, because the iPhone 6s and 6s Plus are coming with Band 12, he's come out and said, you can come try T-Mobile. If you don't like our service or you're not satisfied with our coverage, then we will unlock your iPhone for you. and lets you take it to any carrier that you want, and you'll just continue to pay us for the iPhone. So you'll pay them the iPhone pricing on their jump on demand, but they'll unlock it for you and let you take it to any carrier that you want. This is kind of a bold claim because T-Mobile's coverage, even with Band 12, is still lacking in a lot of places. So it's kind of a bold claim to come out and say that, look, if you don't like our coverage, try us. We'll unlock your iPhone. We'll let you go to any carrier you want. You'll just keep paying us, the same price that you would pay the iPhone. And currently, other than Sprint, perhaps, theirs is one of the cheapest ways to get an iPhone. So kind of cool. They've also said that those people who are already on the Jump on Demand program, who are on the special, who have iPhones, will get priority access to the next iPhones if you order them within the first 48 hours. If you pre-order them within the first 48 hours, then you'll get priority access over anyone else, which is kind of cool because it means I don't have to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning to go pre-order my iPhone. And that you'll also keep, if you have promotional pricing, then you'll be able to keep your promotional pricing. So, for example, I got on the promotional pricing. I pay $19 a month for my iPhone 6s Plus. I'm sorry, for my iPhone 6 Plus. I'll pay the exact same price for the iPhone 6s Plus.
I like it. I think it's really bold, and I think it's dangerous.
Yes.
Especially when you start talking about if you don't pay for the phone, it can't activate on certain carriers. I think that can get kind of crazy. But hey, that's what T-Mobile's known about, doing all that kind of stuff, the crazy stuff. So,
yep.
Fred, I hadn't heard from you in a minute, and I know you like T-Mobile a lot.
Well, I do like T-Mobile. It's an interesting twist here because T-Mobile is the pioneer of no more phone contracts, and now there finally are no more 2-year phone contracts that you have to lock into. But the only way that you do get locked in is when you lock in on purchasing a phone over time. So everybody's now liberated from their 2-year phone contracts, but T-Mobile now wants to rope you in to a 2-year installment plan that you're going to be paying onto them, even if you take the phone and go to Verizon or AT&T or Sprint. So, yeah, it's great that we don't have these 2-year contracts with the hidden subsidized fees and everything, but you have to wonder if it isn't ultimately just a little bit of sleight of hand here, and they're just trying to lock you in a different way.
Good point. Tony, what do you think?
Well, I'm down for anything with T-Mobile, so I like it. And honestly, I like anything T-Mobile tries to do to get more customers, because the more customers they have, the better the coverage is going to get. So what they think that what they're thinking, this is probably the same thing they've thought every time they've done their, we'll steal you from the other carriers and pay off your ETFs, and then you can go back for free if you want with no obligation. They're thinking they're going to get such an influx of people and influx of cash that they can erect all these new towers and make the service good everywhere, and it just hasn't ever worked for them. So while I would love it to work, I don't think that this is going to be any different than any of the other prior, things that they've done, such as the we'll pay your ETF and you can go back if you want to, because none of them get enough people to do it. If we had an influx, if we had a couple million people, or maybe a couple 100,000 people in every state wanting to move to T-Mobile, then we would see some real change. But there's just not that many people, and people would rather pay hundreds of dollars more per month than they need to than deal with going in and switching their cell phone service and having to buy all new phones, even if they're getting paid for it in the end. I mean, Fred, how long did you know that it would be cheaper? And we're smart people, thinking people. How long did you know it would be cheaper to go to T-Mobile before you actually, and we're paying Verizon before you actually ended up switching over?
It was quite a while, and I had a little bit more of a reason to delay there, which was Wi-Fi calling, because while T-Mobile has really good coverage in this part of New Jersey and New York City, and even in my neighborhood, in my house, I've got virtually no T-Mobile signal. So until I had a comfort level that we could get Wi-Fi calling, it was not really an option.
Yeah. But that's my main thing with it, is I don't think it's going to change much for them at this time. If anything, it could end up costing them money. Because why would you want somebody buying a phone from you if you're not giving them service and getting their money every month? I mean, getting a couple dollars to pay for the phone that they purchased from you is nothing compared to getting the hundreds of dollars for what is basically free for you.
I kind of liked the one thing about this whole program that I really liked and is sort of compelling, at least for some people, is that if you try this, and this is the basically try it if you like it, that kind of thing. But if you buy a phone from them and you try it, if you don't like the service, you can get the phone unlocked and still do the monthly payments.
Yeah.
And then you can take it to another carrier. I liked that, but other than that, this is, for me, it's pointless because their coverage is still so bad around here that I can't use it. But I kind of like that part, and I like that they're giving people a chance like me who I haven't been able to test it really because it's expensive. I mean, it's not exactly the cheapest thing out there. So, yeah.
Well, a lot more interesting talk than I thought we were going to hit with this one. Good stuff. Interesting. Very good. But yeah, I mean that does our show, and we're a little over on time, so I don't want to push too far. But also hit the hashtag MCOJBrew for those of you guys listening and watching later. But that does wrap up our show, our Apple-focused Microapple show. And of course a little bit of drone talk and T-Mobile and all that kind of stuff. But before we leave, I do want to catch up on everybody and see what's going on this week. So next has been what's going on, what's brewing for this coming up week for you and iTech Tribe.
Well, review-wise, I am finishing up my Moto G 2015 review tomorrow, or hopefully tomorrow. So that'll go live earlier next week, and then I'm also going to sit down probably tomorrow and write up my Note 5 review. So next week is going to have a lot of fun reviews, and then probably within the next hour or so of us recording this, I have a first impressions video of the Note 5 that was supposed to go live early this week that I just finished editing 20 minutes ago. So that will go live here in a little bit.
Excellent. Good stuff. Ones and zeros, Chuck, what's going on for you this week, bud?
You know, not a whole lot. Work, and that's about it. And like I said, I'll be pre-ordering the iPhone 6s Plus, and not a whole lot else. They've actually been burying a lot of fiber around my town, and I can't figure out why. So I'm actually going to try and do some investigative work and find out why are they laying fiber.
Pull the codes.
Whose trucks is it out there?
It's not. It's some third-party fiber laying company. So they don't even have anything on the trucks. So secretly, they've laid it toward. There's a cell phone tower just north of my house here, about a quarter of a mile, that's owned by a local company, Nextech. And I'm kind of hoping that maybe T-Mobile is running the fiber, and they're going to hang their stuff up on that tower as well. Fingers crossed, because there's a little spot of edge that I don't get LTE right near that tower and going north. And so, fingers crossed, that's what I'm really hoping it is, but I have no idea.
Well, keep us posted on it. Yeah, you can pull the county codes or whatever, right, and find out who's doing it, can't you?
Yeah, you would think so, but remember I live in Kansas, so it might not be online anywhere.
Well, yeah, keep us posted. That does sound interesting. At least you should got something good coming fiber-ish one day down the road. So
yeah.
Back from the dead, Fred. What's brewing for you this week?
Hey, well, actually, I don't know if this is going to make it here this week, but I was just contacted yesterday by a gentleman named Stephen Bowden from London, UK, who is a certified ergonomist, and he has made a product called the DXT Ergonomic Mouse. Saw my piece on the SwiftPoint GT mouse a while back in another venue at the time, but he located that and located me and wants to send me one to test and review. So that's on its way from the UK as we speak, and we'll be interested to see this. It's a ergonomic mouse produced by a certified ergonomist. I was not aware there was such a thing, but he is one.
Yeah, is it self-certified or no?
No, I actually threw that in. He just signs it ergonomist. But I assume he's got some kind of credentials.
Right, right. No, that sounds actually kind of cool. Look forward to seeing that. Spec sheet, Tony. We all know what's going on for you this week, but go ahead and brag about it one more time.
I'm very excited to be receiving my Inspire. Really wishing that it would have come today like it was supposed to with the overnight shipping, because I would be able to. I've got a birthday party, my best friend's son's 7th birthday party, and it's all Star Wars themed, and I thought that would be so awesome if I could take it, because if you haven't seen the Inspire 1, it looks like something out of a sci-fi movie. It is probably the coolest looking quadcopter that I've ever seen, and it is. So go search it, DJI Inspire 1, and check it out. That would have been awesome. Aside from that, not much going on. Just doing as much legwork as possible to try to get the word out about my aerial photography, cold calling, and yes. Mr. Bain, I saw your question. Yes, real estate photography is something I am trying to get into. Right now, the realtors in this area are not wanting to get back. I have sent emails to every one of the realtors listed on a $1 million home, around the $1 million home area within 60 miles of me, and I've only heard back from one real estate company, and I don't have a firm lead there, so hopefully we'll be getting into that as well when I have the good quality quadcopter to be able to shoot good quality video and photos. So I wasn't ignoring you. I just figured I'd get to you at the end there before we signed off. But that's what's going on for me. So I'm going to be out flying. So cross your fingers, pray for me, pray for good weather, however you do it. I want to have some awesome weather before it gets cold, so that I can get a really good demo reel, some really good demo shots before the weather gets really rough.
Awesome. Yeah, I look forward to seeing what you put out too. So, a little jealous, but just happy for you, and really hope that it takes off for you. McAfee imaging and all that kind of stuff. So look forward to seeing what you push out with all that. But yeah, and then one more thing of little housekeeping. You guys, I'm sure, noticed that Mobile Cup of Joe himself was missing tonight. He was unable to make it on the show. So you guys be sure to put some love out on the socials to Joe Maring and tell him that we missed him. But for Joe, Ben, Chuck, Fred, Tony, and myself, that will conclude this show. So thank you guys so much for watching or listening and making us part of your daily, weekly, monthly routine. We will see you next week at 9 p.m. Eastern. Good night.